Why are we suddenly just now talking about this? This has been an issue for years. Why is it suddenly a talking point now?
I just think the way that, the 24/7 media news feed and the way bloggers, have access or have a forum for many people to follow, and it's just picking up steam. And, like I said, the 24/7 news feed, they're always looking for stories, and there's plenty of material here on this issue. So the more it gets scrutinized, the bigger deal that's made of it.
You and I were in that press conference with President Adams last week, and he didn't name names. He didn't say Auburn's doing this or Florida's doing this. He didn't name names. Obviously, under some constraints, we're not. If you were to point out the schools that people say or that we think are guilty of abusing this process, who would they be?
Basically, everyone in the SEC West.
What's the problem with oversigning?
Problem is you've got all these kids coming in, and all of a sudden they're having to compete for a scholarship that they were promised. Scholarship. I think the main issue that's not well out there is that scholarships are only year to year. So a kid could have a scholarship for 2 years, come into camp one day, they have a bunch of oversigned kids, everyone qualifies, all of a sudden you've got extra numbers, and you find yourself competing, 2 years into your scholarship, and all of a sudden you're given walk-on status, or, for whatever reason you're asked to leave the program. And that's so the heart of the issue of oversigning is kids left without a scholarship that they were promised when they got to campus.
Adam Krohn, again, writing for the Gainesville Times. Now, you and others have mentioned some possible solutions. I was interested to hear yesterday in Birmingham, the SEC Commissioner Mike Slive weigh in on this as well. Among the ideas being kicked around is to do something about what you just said, the fact that scholarships are year to year. What about offering 4-year scholarships?
I know Mr. Slive has mentioned that, and President Adams at the press conference on Friday said that that's going to be one of the issues, or just a redefinition of what a scholarship is, not just in terms of years, but well beyond that, fees, etc. Just a clear definition of what a scholarship is, and that's a step in the right direction to move it beyond year to year.
Some other things that Mike Slive said really generating some discussion at the SEC meetings in Birmingham. He talked about, for example, raising the GPA, the minimum GPA for a Southeastern Conference athlete. Right now, I gather it's a 2.0. He says make it a 2.5. I can just imagine what the coaches around the conference are thinking about that.
Yeah, that might be an issue separate from oversigning. I don't see how at all that would help the issue of oversigning, and if anything, it would lower the competitive level of the conference, and I think that would be very counterproductive.
Finally, let's talk about the Bulldogs themselves. You cover college athletics, college football for the Gainesville Times. We're just obviously days away now. What are we, about 6 weeks, a little more than 6 weeks away from the start of the new college football season, the Bulldogs versus Boise State over there in Atlanta. There's a lot of optimism. You've seen the magazines, and you've heard all the talk radio, as I have, I'm sure. There's some people out there that have this Bulldog team as a top 10 team heading into the season. Now, I'm sorry. To be frank here, the last time I saw the Bulldogs play a football game, they were losing to Central Florida to complete a losing season. Since then, they lost their best offensive player. They lost their best defensive player. All their running backs are gone. 2 of their starting tackles are gone. How's that team going to be any better? How's that team going to be top 10? I mean, what do you see when you look at this Bulldog team?
I see exactly, what you're seeing. That's the beautiful thing about the offseason. The Kansas City Royals can dream about a World Series, and everyone can be all happy because there's nothing going on. There's nothing being played out on the field. It's all being played out on paper. It is an impressive recruiting class. I will give Georgia that, but Mark Richt has had 8 top 10 recruiting classes since 2002. Getting recruits has never been the problem for him. It's been assembling all of those recruits into a team that can produce on the field and win the big game. So until I see that, and of course we're going to get a look right off the bat to see how they do against Boise State. Until I see them do that, I honestly don't think it's far-fetched to say that they can have another losing season.